Bitch so thick Jamaican. Watch Star Wars on vacation. Cadillac V8 engine. Red like a Russian. Red light on count.
I've been looking forward to this.
What? Huh? Huh? What? Yes! 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 No! No! No!
Alright boys and girls, I hope you're having a lovely day, okay? Today, lads, I want to talk about some Star Wars games, okay? Obviously, today is May the 4th, okay? So obviously, we got to do a Star Wars video. It just makes perfect sense. I picked out 10 Star Wars games from my collection, okay? And I've been playing them over the last few weeks, and I've been having a good time. Some of these games are good, some of them not so much, and we'll get into that. Before we get into things, though, boys, there's a couple of things I would like to address. First of all, I'd love to know in the comments, like, what are some of your guys' like, favorite Star Wars games? I would love to know, like, what you guys grew up playing, what you guys enjoy playing now, that sort of thing. So let me know in the comments like what Star Wars games you love. And the other thing I wanted to address, lads, is like the games that we picked today, okay? Obviously there's a fuck ton of Star Wars games, okay? Like there's actually a crazy amount. There's probably like 100 Star Wars games in existence, okay? There's too many to count, okay? So obviously I can't play all of them. Like I said, I have picked 10 games from my collection to play. So if you guys are wondering like why I haven't played this game or that game, don't worry, lads. I'm sure there will be a part 2 and part 3 to this, okay? I'm sure I'll be doing lots of different Star Wars videos on different games. So if I've missed a game you wanted me to talk about, chances are it might be in part 2, part 3, part 4, whatever. Okay then boys, that's about everything I want to address, so let's just jump straight into it, okay? And let's kick things off by talking about Star Wars The Force Unleashed for the PS3. Okay then guys, so I want to start off by saying that this is probably one of my favorite Star Wars games of all time, okay? I absolutely adore this one. I love this game so much that it was actually one of the very first videos I did on this channel was me talking about this game and how much I love it. So if you want to see a bit more of a detailed analysis of this game, then check out that video because I go through it pretty deeply. But don't worry lads, I'm still going to be talking about this game in pretty good detail right now, okay? And I want to start off with like the story of how I actually got this game, because funnily enough lads, I didn't actually start off with the PS3 version. I actually started with the Nintendo DS version. Back when I was like a young teenager, I was obsessed with Star Wars, okay? I just absolutely adored it and I would just consume everything Star Wars. I love it now, obviously, but back then, I was like a mega fan. But unfortunately, the only consoles I actually owned were the Nintendo DS and the PS2. Now, I didn't know back then that there was actually a PS2 port of this game. If I knew that, I probably would have got it for the PS2. However, I knew it was on DS, so I thought, you know what? I'm gonna get this game for the DS. I think I got it for Christmas, actually. And I played the shit out of that game on the DS, okay? I loved it back then. I haven't played it since I was a child, so I don't know how good it actually was, but when I was a kid, I loved that shit, okay? That was the best DS game ever.
I love you, bitch.
I played it over and over and over again and just adored it. And then about like maybe a year later, I did finally get a PlayStation 3. And one of the first games I wanted to pick up was, of course, The Force Unleashed. In fact, this was actually the very first game I ever played on my PS3. However, it's not like a good story, unfortunately. I put this game into my PS3. I was so excited to play it, as you guys can imagine, okay? And unfortunately, my PS3 broke down on me, like in the middle of the game. I literally started the game up and the PS3 just was shut down and it wouldn't turn back on again. I couldn't even get the disc out of the freaking disc drive. Like the whole console was jacked in and I was like, oh, for goodness sake. Well, this is some birthday disc. I think I forgot to mention it, but yeah, this was on my birthday, okay? I got a PS3 for my birthday. I was super excited and again, I wanted to play Force Unleashed and it broke down on me. So unfortunately, I couldn't play this game. So yeah, I take my PS3 back to game, okay? I get a refund for it and get a new PS3. This was like a brand new one this time. They managed to get the disc out, thankfully, so I was still able to play Force Unleashed. But yeah, it wasn't off to a good start. But yeah, with my new PS3, lads, I of course played a shit ton of Force Unleashed, okay? Absolutely loved it, okay? I like the DS one, but obviously the PS3 one is much more superior, and I just really loved it. And I might be wrong, but I think this was the first ever PS3 game that I finished. See, I hadn't played this game in years, boys, but I actually came back to it last year when I wanted to do that video on it, and I just fell in love all over again. I still love it to this day. I think this game has aged really well. This game has one of the very best, like, intros to a game ever. You start off as Darth Vader on Kashyyyk, and you just fucking wreak havoc. I can't think of a game that lets you terrorize people this much, okay? Like, Star Wars The Force Unleashed is unhinged with the amount that you can just abuse things. You can just go on a crazy rampage, murdering stormtroopers, picking them up with the Force, throwing them off cliffs. Like, you can just go crazy with it. Yeah, that intro in Kashyyyk when you're playing as Darth Vader and you're just obliterating Wookiees. Yeah, it's one of the most fun intros ever because it's just so unhinged. I also want to mention with this game as well that the destruction physics are absolutely amazing. This came out at like a time like in the PS3 360 era where there was just almost like an obsession with destruction. Games like Red Faction Guerrilla were coming out, you know, where you could just destroy everything. They don't really do that anymore, unfortunately. You don't really see that too often. I suppose you got like the Just Cause games, you can destroy stuff in those, and I suppose there are a couple, but it's not as many. Like during this era, it felt like every single game just had an incredible like destruction engine, and yeah, Force Unleashed is one of those games. Story-wise here is really good as well, lads. You play a Starkiller who was like a Force-sensitive child that was found by Vader when he was on Kashyyyk. He takes him in and lets him be his apprentice. As the game progresses, Vader ends up betraying you, and then you try to get him back, and you start up a rebel alliance. It's a pretty damn good story. A lot of it's focused on Starkiller's like love interest Juno, which is his like pilot, so a lot of the story goes there, and obviously you've got other people like Master Kota, and there's a droid called Proxy, so lots of characters in this game, all of which are really good. Yeah, the story here is definitely a highlight, lads. I really enjoyed the story on the whole. It's very good. If I'm thinking of criticisms with this game, I'd say maybe like the one area in this game that I'm not a massive fan of is the boss battles. I wouldn't say they're necessarily terrible, but my biggest problem with them is that for some reason the game shifts into like a fixed camera angle, and it just makes them really janky and clunky to play. At least I found. I didn't really enjoy the boss battles here. I just found them a little bit frustrating at times, so yeah, I wasn't massive on the boss battles on the whole. However, there is one boss battle that I really did like. This is actually one of my favorite parts of the game, okay? But basically, the droid Proxy that I mentioned earlier, he is basically like a battle droid that, well, not battle droid, he's a training droid, I should say. Basically, he can change form into other people so that, like, Starkiller has something to train, so he could, like, for example, change himself into Princess Leia. I don't know why he would do that, but he could if he wanted. Yeah, towards the end of the game, Proxy goes a little bit AWOL, and he decides that he's going to change into a Sith, alright? And a badass Sith at that.
Shut down, Proxy. There's no one inside you that I haven't already defeated.
Give me some credit, Master. I have one module you've never seen. An enemy I've studied for years.
You cheeky little fucker.
Yes, lads, Proxy ends up changing into Darth Maul, and it's one of the best moments of this game, because, I mean, Darth Maul, to me, is probably one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars. I absolutely love Darth Maul, so yeah, when I saw that, it kind of blew me away. And yeah, it's definitely a highlight of this game. I really enjoyed that. Not so much like the boss battle mechanics, but just like the fact that he revealed himself as Darth Maul, and you start fighting him. Like, I thought that was so cool. So yeah, on the whole, boys and girls, Star Wars The Force Unleashed, absolutely amazing, okay? It's ridiculously fun. You just go completely crazy with the Force, obliterating everyone in sight. It's got a really good story on top of that as well, and honestly, there's very little bad I can say about it. So if you somehow have never played Force Unleashed 1, definitely check it out. It's incredible. Okay then, boys, next up I want to talk about Star Wars Starfighter for the PS2. Okay then, boys, so I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure I had this game growing up. I either had this one or I had Jedi Starfighter. I can't remember which one, but I'm pretty sure it was this one. If I remember correctly as well, lads, I don't think I liked it all that much. Like, I'm just not really into flight games very much. This is a game where you spend, like, the entirety of it in, like, a spaceship, okay? You don't, like, get to, like, move around or anything. You spend it, literally all of it in a spaceship, and I just really wasn't into those types of games growing up. And I'll be totally honest, I'm still not really into those games. It's not usually my cup of tea. With that said, though, boys, I played this game like literally a few weeks ago. I actually quite enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty damn good. It's not my favorite game in the world or anything like that, but yeah, I did actually have a fairly good time with it. It's a pretty damn simple game, okay? Like, you just literally are in a spaceship, you shoot things, blow them up, and that's literally the whole game, okay? It's very simple. The game does control pretty nice, okay? The graphics are decent enough, nothing too ridiculous, but they look decent. The different locations are pretty varied, and just generally speaking, the game is pretty solid to play, okay? Again, nothing too ridiculous, but it is pretty good. In terms of the story here, boys, I will not lie to you guys, I haven't got a fucking clue. This game is set during the Phantom Menace, and I'll be totally honest, boys, like, the Phantom Menace just kind of bores me, okay? So as soon as I found out this game was set during that period, I kind of was like, oh, okay, I'm not that bothered about the story now.
Okay, I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry, no.
Sorry. So, do you know what? That's pathetic.
You can track him, maybe not mine.
No.
See you later.
The Phantom Menace is not my favorite Star Wars movie, okay? So yeah, I kind of just shut my brain off a little bit with the story here, and I was just watching YouTube videos while I played it. So yeah, this story might be good here, boys. It might be a damn masterpiece. least, but I wouldn't know. I don't think it is, though. I don't think it's anything too crazy. So yeah, as much as I did have fun with this game, boys, it is not perfect, like I said. Okay, it definitely has some flaws with it. My first big, like, bad thing about it is the fact that the game is incredibly short. If you're, like, decent at this game, you could probably beat this game in an hour and a half to 2 hours tops, okay? It's a very short game and there's not very many levels. Also, this game has 0 checkpoints throughout the levels, okay? Like, if you die in a level, you have to do the whole thing again. It's not really a problem for most of the levels, but there definitely are some difficult ones in there, and they drag on quite a while, okay? So you'll be dying quite a few times and having to, like, redo the whole level again, which can be pretty frustrating. And speaking of frustrating levels, boys, there is actually 3 levels in particular that I genuinely hated because they were so frustrating, okay? And I want to go into them in detail. So, like, the first half of this game, honestly, was just a breeze, okay? I was loving it, I was enjoying it, I was thinking, this is fun, I really enjoy it, okay? And I think it was Mission 11, which is roughly about halfway through the game. That was when I started to, you know, sour a little bit. Mission 11 is, like, just a ridiculously long level, and it's pretty damn tough because there's just these, like, turrets that keep shooting at you, and they are just everywhere. And this level will take you ages, okay? Because you pretty much have to go and shoot every single turret. If you don't, you're just gonna get destroyed by them. And again, because there's no checkpoints, like, if you die, you have to do the whole thing again, okay? So that level genuinely frustrated me. A few missions after that, there was another very frustrating one. Thankfully, this wasn't, like, a super long mission, so every time I failed on it, it didn't really set me back too badly. But yeah, basically the mission was you had to, like, shoot these AATs, okay? Pretty simple. However, you have to, like, maneuver through these very, like, narrow, like, sort of areas, and it's very easy to, like, just crash your ship, and then you end up just bumping into the walls and then exploding and having to do the whole level again. So that level was genuinely annoying. But I think the most frustrating level of them all, lads, was that final mission, okay? The final mission is really fucking tough. The start of the mission's pretty simple enough, okay? You just have to, like, go around and shoot these, like, dish things. I don't know what they are, I can't really remember now, but you have to blow up a bunch of them. Not particularly difficult at all, to be honest, but it just takes a bit of time. And again, because there's no checkpoints throughout the game, you know, if you die later on in this mission, you have to keep doing that same bit over and over and over again, and it gets very boring very quickly. But yeah, the hard part of this mission, lads, is actually the final boss, okay? This boss is pretty tough. You have to, like, shoot him up, okay, which is fine, but then there's a part where he takes, like, a random detour, and you have to follow him through, and again, it's quite narrow and quite easy to just crash your ship. And once you catch up to him, you have to shoot him some more, but you're getting shot by turrets and stuff like that, so that's pretty hard to avoid. He also, like, throws bombs at you, which always hit you. And it's just a pretty damn tough final level, and it takes about 10 to 15 minutes, and there's a good chance you're gonna die a few times, and this final mission took me ages, and it was really annoying.
Listen, I've had enough of your shit.
So yeah, those frustrating levels aside, lads, I actually really enjoyed my time with this game, okay? It's very, very fun, and considering this usually isn't my cup of tea, I had a good time with it. Okay then, boys, next up we have got Lego Star Wars for the PS2.
Lego Star Wars, the video game.
Okay then, guys, this is a game that I have a ridiculous amount of nostalgia for, okay? This game is a massive part of my childhood. The very first time I played this game was actually at my uncle's house. I can't remember how old I was, but I was pretty damn young, and my uncle took us to the cinema, me and my older brother. We went to go watch Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit, but I'll be totally honest, guys, I had zero interest in that movie, okay? Because all I wanted to do was go to my uncle's house and play this game, okay? Because he told me that he had it, and I just really wanted to play it. I just absolutely adored Star Wars growing up, okay? And the idea of a Lego game as Star Wars just blew me away. Like, nowadays, that, like, Lego games, they're pretty common, but back then, obviously, this was, like, the very first, like, Lego game, and it was a mind-blowing time. So yeah, I remember getting to my uncle's house, and I was so excited to play it. I sit down, I start playing it, and I'm just having a really good time. I adored it. And my uncle, being the absolute legend that he was, he let me have it, okay? He let me take it home and keep it, and I was so happy. So yeah, I love this game growing up, lads. It's definitely one of my favorite childhood games. Honestly, such a good game. So yeah, like I was saying, boys, nowadays, Lego games are super common, okay? So, like, the whole formula of how Lego games are, it's not gonna blow anyone away, but back then, this was a pretty big deal. You go around as little Lego guys, you go around fighting with your little Lego lightsabers and guns and stuff, you collect these little, like, Lego studs when you break stuff, and that's your, like, currency. With that currency, you can buy all these different characters and little extras, that sort of thing. And this game has a ridiculous amount of characters, like, every single side character you can ever think of is in this game, pretty much, and throughout the levels, you pretty much solve these super easy puzzles, okay? Obviously, this is a kid's game, so the puzzles aren't gonna be too difficult.
Sometimes my genius is beyond belief. 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 Sometimes my genius is b It's almost frightening.
Whilst you're running through these levels, you want to be looking out for these things called generators, okay? And you need to collect 10 of these in each level. However, on your first playthrough, you won't be able to get all the generators, okay? You actually have to go back and play it a second time, but you get to play with like different characters like that you can choose. And that's because certain puzzles or certain doors need to be accessed by certain characters. When you play it on the first playthrough, you have to play as the characters, you know, throughout the story, but on your second playthrough, you get to pretty much use who you want. So yeah, you can then solve the puzzles and collect all the generators. So yeah, it's a pretty damn fun gameplay loop, boys, okay? It's a simple game, but my god, was it fun back in the day. But yeah, one of my favorite things about Lego Star Wars, lads, was actually the cutscenes, okay? The cutscenes back in the day were so charmful. Nowadays, with like the more modern Lego games, the cutscenes are still pretty cool and all, but one of the things that I liked about these ones is they didn't talk, okay? Nowadays, all the Lego characters talk, and I don't know, I feel like that ruins it a little bit for me. Back in like the early days of Lego games, there was no talking, okay? It was just little mumbles, okay? And all of the humor was just from like slapstick. These games just had these funny and silly little gags, and like a lot of times there would be like references to the actual movies and stuff, and I don't know, they were just really funny and I enjoyed them. So yeah, on the whole, lads, Lego Star Wars, absolutely loved this game growing up, and I still do, okay? I think this game is absolutely fantastic. If you somehow have never played it, then you absolutely have to, okay? It's not as revolutionary as it once was, but it's still a damn good time, boys, and you cannot hate this game. It's still fun. Okay then, boys, next up, I'm going to talk about Star Wars for the Game Boy. Okay then, guys, so as you can see, I actually got like a nice little custom case here. I made this actually before I even got the game, so I knew I was going to get it, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to make a nice little custom case for it, and I just put it in like a cassette tape. That's what I do for all my Game Boy games, because buying boxed Game Boy is really expensive, so I decided to make my own. However, lads, if I knew what was in store for me with this game, I might not have put in as much effort into making this custom case as I did. This game did not deliver a good experience to me. I read online that this game was really, really hard, okay? Nearly every single comment on like the YouTube walkthroughs of this game are just how brutally hard it was, and I thought, alright, it doesn't look that hard, you know, it's probably, you know, doable. But yeah, I was not ready for how freaking hard this game was, okay? This was obviously developed at a time where developers just did not give a shit about the consumer. I don't know what it was about old retro games, but they seem to just hate us, alright? They made the most brutally difficult games, and it just makes no sense to me. This is literally a Star Wars game for the Game Boy, okay? Nobody other than children are going to be playing a game like this, okay? And yet they made these games the most hard and brutal and most difficult games of all time, and I've got no idea why.
Why? Because fuck them, that's why.
So yeah, this game was just insanely difficult right from the get-go, okay? I did not get very far with this game at all. I'm almost embarrassed to admit that I barely even touched the surface of this game, okay? I literally don't think I got past like the first few levels of this game. In terms of what this game actually is, boys, it's basically a Star Wars platformer, okay? And I'm not that bad at platformers. I'm not like ridiculously good, but you know, I can play through like the original Crash Bandicoot games pretty easily. I remember playing Super Meat Boy back in the day. I was pretty good at that one, and that's a tough game, okay? I'm like not terrible at platformers. I'm not incredible, but I'm not bad. But this game honestly just put me to shame, okay? I was dumbfounded at like how hard this game was immediately. Before I even get to like the platforming bits of this game, I was completely and utterly lost, okay? You like leave this cave and then you go to like explore, and I had no idea where the fuck to go. I was like, where am I supposed to be? I didn't know what to do. I was only like 2 minutes into the game and I had to look up where to go, okay? And I found out what you're supposed to do. So I go into this like little cave, and yeah, and I start platforming, and I was just so bad at it, lads. I literally couldn't make it out of this very first level. What doesn't help with the difficulty of this game, lads, is that for some reason there is full damage on a platformer. Like, do you know how fucking frustrating that is? So yeah, if I mess up a jump, which is pretty damn often, then I would just lose health. So yeah, that's not exactly ideal. So I was just constantly losing lives through full damage. Like, could you imagine if like a Mario game had full damage? You wouldn't be able to make it past the first level. On top of that as well, like the level structure is just ridiculously confusing. Like, I just have no idea where to go, and I thought, do you know what, it's fine, I'll just look up a walkthrough, and literally watching the walkthrough was giving me a headache. Like, how am I supposed to follow this? This entire experience was just so frustrating, okay? I just didn't know where to go, I didn't know what to do, I didn't know how to play it, I was ridiculously bad at it, and I was just not having a good time. And again, lads, I'm within like the first 5 minutes of the game. I barely even scratched the surface of this game, okay? I couldn't imagine trying to actually properly beat this one. And I want to go a little bit off topic here, boys. This has nothing to do with the difficulty or anything like that. Why does Luke blow up when you die?
Why did he do that?
In general, boys, I just had a really shit experience with this one, okay? I did not have a fun time whatsoever. There's not a single thing about it that I can honestly think of that I liked. So yeah, I would not recommend this game whatsoever, lads, unless for some weird reason you want to punish yourself, then maybe this would be a good time. But yeah, if you don't want to punish yourself, if you're not a masochist, then avoid it at all costs. Okay then, boys, next up I'm going to talk about Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, but for the DS. Okay then, guys, so we just talked about a Star Wars handheld game that I didn't enjoy. However, this is the polar opposite, okay? I adored this one, okay? I was like shocked at how much I had fun with this. I didn't have like super high expectations for it, okay? Because I mean, it's Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith for the DS, okay? This is a movie license game, and it's not like the main port, okay? Because obviously this game is on PS2 and Xbox and stuff. Like, that's where most of the effort went into, I would have imagined. However, they did not slump out with the DS port, okay? They went all in with this game, and I was shocked at how much I enjoyed it. I want to start off with the art style to this game, okay? Because, like, graphically, this is one of the best looking DS games you can play. It's got, like, a really nice 2D art style, okay? Which just lends itself so well to the DS, because, like, a lot of the DS games are all in 3D, and a lot of them don't look the best, but when there are, like, the rare few 2D games on DS, they always look so good. And this is one of those examples, lads, okay? Graphically, this game looks so nice. Gameplay here, lads, is like a beat-em-up Star Wars game, which, I mean, doesn't that just sound incredible? You can either play as Anakin or Obi-Wan, and depending on who you choose will actually give you, like, different levels. Like, when you're playing as Obi-Wan, you'll be fighting General Grievous, but when you're with Anakin, you'll be fucking up Mace Windu and turning to the dark side. Two very drastic differences. But yeah, it's just nice that you have, like, two different directions that the story can go in depending on who you pick, okay? And it's definitely worth revisiting the game as the other character, you know? I'd recommend you play as both. It's just something they really did not have to do, okay? They could have just let you play as Anakin or Obi-Wan throughout the entire game, and that would have been completely fine. But the fact that they let you play as both characters, and again, they have differences, is just awesome. But yeah, back on track then, boys, with the gameplay, okay? The gameplay here, like I said, is like a beat-em-up style sort of Star Wars game. It's almost like a Streets of Rage meets Star Wars. It's so good, lads, alright? The beat-em-up style gameplay works so well here. The animations are crisp and clean, okay? The gameplay is nice. You can use your Force abilities as well, and it feels good to play. It's just a really, really amazing, like, gameplay loop. It's nothing too ridiculous, but it just works so well with Star Wars. I'm surprised they've never done this since. I don't think it's ever been done, like, ever since this game. That genuinely surprises me, okay, because the beat-em-up style of gameplay works so well here with Star Wars, so they should definitely do it again. So yeah, I know it sounds like I'm sucking this game's dick a little bit, and I suppose I am a bit, okay? This game has a dick that's worth sucking. Why have I gone in this direction?
This sounds very gay.
Yeah, point is, this game is not perfect, okay? There is one flaw with this game, in my opinion, okay, and that is the flight sections. They're just not the best. Basically, there's a few 3D sections where you're in a spaceship and you have to shoot up other spaceships and stuff. It's fine, I guess, but it's just no way near as good as the beat-em-up stuff. I suppose they just threw it in there, you know, to split up the gameplay and give you a bit of variety, but I wouldn't have minded, like, just doing, like, more beat-em-up stuff because it was so fun. Not to mention the fact that this game is, like, super short, okay? So I don't want to be spending time in a spaceship. I want to be fighting people with lightsabers. So yeah, every second I spent in a spaceship, I just felt like it was wasted time, you know? I just wanted to be back fighting with my lightsaber. So yeah, that was, like, my one thing about this game that I wasn't a fan of. But yeah, on the whole, lads, I absolutely adored this game, okay? You might not believe me, but I genuinely think this is one of the best Star Wars games ever made, okay? If you have a DS, please seek this game out, okay? It is absolutely incredible, and you will not regret your purchase. It's a super cheap game as well, so you absolutely have to play it. Okay then, boys, next up, I want to talk about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace for the PS1. Yeah, when we were talking about Star Wars Starfighter, boys, I mentioned that Star Wars The Phantom Menace is not my favorite movie in the world. So yeah, I didn't really have super high expectations for this one, okay? Because again, the movie to me is just pretty boring. When I was growing up, I actually quite liked the movie, okay? I, for some reason, liked Jar Jar Binks. Well, I mean, I suppose I was like 5 or 6 years old, so I suppose it makes sense. But genuinely, the only things I like about The Phantom Menace is that Qui-Gon's pretty cool and Darth Maul is a badass. Other than that, I genuinely find the movie pretty boring, okay? And when I watch the movie, I just want to get to the end where they fight fight, you know, with Darth Maul. That's all I want to see is Duel of the Fates. So yeah, because the movie's not exactly the best, lads, I didn't really expect the, you know, the movie licensed tie-in game on PS1 to be all that great, and yeah, I was pretty much right. I'm sure some people have got like a lot of nostalgia for this one if you grew up and played it, but by today's standards, this game is pretty shit. I guess the first place we could start off with here is the graphics. I mean, it's not surprising, and it certainly wasn't surprising to me that the graphics have not aged the best. Honestly, lads, if that was like the only problems I had with this game was the visuals, I could certainly look past it, okay? I mean, I actually quite like how PS1 games look. I know they look like complete shit by today's standards, but I don't know, there's just a certain charm to it, you know, and I just get nostalgic when I see PS1 graphics. But yeah, if you're expecting this game to look really good, which I don't know why you would think that, but yeah, if you're expecting that, then you will not get that here, okay? This game does not look good at all. My biggest problem with this game, lads, is the gameplay, okay? There's just a lot of problems with this game. So my first problem with the gameplay here, boys, is blocking, okay? There's no block button in this game, okay? So when I start playing it, I'm just getting absolutely obliterated by shots, and I'm thinking, how the hell do I block in this game? But yeah, this game doesn't actually have a block button, okay? What the game wants you to do is deflect all of the shots, okay? So when a droid's shooting at you, you're supposed to attack, like when you're getting shot, you're supposed to attack the blaster fire, and it'll ping back to the droid. So yeah, when there's like 1 or 2 droids, that's not really a problem, okay? You'll deflect the blaster fire back, all is good. But this game will just throw like 10 droids at you, and they expect you to somehow, and it's not possible, by the way, I've tried, but they expect you to deflect all of these bullets back. It's not possible, okay? It's literally impossible.
Just, there's just nothing I can do. There's nothing, it just fucks me. It just takes me, bends me over, and just
if you see multiple droids in this game, you just have to run, okay? There's nothing you can do. You can't deflect all of the shots, and you would just get smoked. The second problem I have with the gameplay here, boys, is the platforming, okay? Now, you would think that this game was freaking Crash Bandicoot with the amount of platforming you have to do. The difference is, though, unlike Crash Bandicoot, is the platforming here is freaking terrible. For some bizarre reason, this game decided to go for a camera angle that sort of looks above rather than, like, looking forward. So it makes the platforming really tricky to sort of know how far you've jumped, on top of the fact that it's just ridiculously janky and it just is shit. I don't know how else to explain it, but the platforming is just pure shit. And the other problem I have with this game, lads, is just navigation. Like, I have no idea where the fuck I'm supposed to go, like, 90% of the time with this game. You'll be playing a level and it's just genuinely confusing where the frick you're supposed to go. Like, in the second level, you're basically chasing Jar Jar Binks around the whole level, and he's running around like some fucking drug addict. So he'll just start climbing up trees and shit, and you're supposed to follow him, and you're getting shot up the arse by droids, and you don't know where the fuck he's gone, and it's just really confusing level design. So yeah, knowing where you're supposed to go in this game definitely made it not fun, okay? I just didn't know where the fuck I was going half the time. That's just the problem with this game in general, is it's just not that enjoyable, okay? The game is ridiculously hard because you're just getting shot by millions of droids. The navigation shit, the platforming shit, it's just not a very fun experience. I only ended up playing like 2 levels of this game, okay? Because I pretty much had enough of it at that point. I was like, you know what? I don't really want to play this game. The only things that I found redeeming about this game is just how freaking weird it was, okay? That was definitely the best part about this game, is it had some weird moments. So there's one part in the game where I saw this like vent, and I decided to jump into it because I thought I was going to float upwards. I don't know why, that just in my gamer brain, I thought if you jump in the vent, it's sucking up air forwards. I thought that it was just going to float me up. No, that didn't happen, and for some reason, Obi-Wan shatters into like Lego pieces, so that was weird. Another part of the game, when I was following Jar Jar Binks, he decided to just run into a group of droids, and he just got absolutely smoked, and I just started cracking up laughing. Another weird and strange thing.
Misa clumsy, but Misa still help. Follow Misa. You should do it right.
Are you retarded?
So yeah, this game just had some weird moments, okay, and I only played like the first 2 levels, so I can only imagine how weird this game gets later on, and that's like the only thing that made me want to sort of play it more, is to just see how weird it was gonna get. But yeah, on the whole, lads, the game has not aged well at all. It's not very good. I'm sure back in the day, like, some people would have a bit of nostalgia for this, but yeah, by today's standards, it's not great. Alright, and boys, next up we are going to talk about Star Wars Battlefront 2 for the PS2. So yeah, you guys might not be aware, but basically like a good few weeks ago, I decided to do a video on all the different Star Wars games. I was quite excited for the Star Wars Battlefront collection, which it didn't exactly turn out all that great, but yeah, I was really excited for that. So I talked about loads of different Star Wars Battlefront games. In fact, I talked about all of them. So yeah, I've already talked to death about all these different Star Wars Battlefront games, but I felt like I had to include Battlefront 2 in this video because it's literally my favorite Star Wars game of all time, and it felt rude not to include it today. I have a ridiculous amount of nostalgia for Battlefront 2, okay? I played this game growing up to death, okay? I'd play it literally every day coming home from school. I played it so much. I played it with my friends, I played it on my own. I just played it non-stop. But yeah, like I said, guys, I've already talked about this game in like full detail in that Star Wars Battlefront video we did a few weeks ago, so I'm not going to go into crazy detail here, but I will just briefly like talk about things I love about this game. I mean, we got to mention the Rise of the Empire campaign here, alright? That's one of the best like Star Wars campaigns ever. It's basically a story of like Order 66, okay, and it's just so well done, okay? The voice acting is incredible. It's just an amazing campaign.
It was a silent trip.
Dip, 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 dip.
We all knew what was about to happen.
This game lets you play as Jedi and Sith for the first time, okay, because in Star Wars Battlefront 1 you didn't have that. It was literally just like stormtroopers and droids and stuff, whereas in this game you get to play as the Jedis, the Sith, you know, some of the bounty hunters, that sort of thing, and again, absolutely amazing. There's very few better feelings than popping off in Star Wars Battlefront, okay, you're going absolutely crazy, and then at the bottom of your screen it says, would you like to play as X character, like, I don't know, Luke Skywalker, Darth Maul, whatever it is, and of course you're gonna pick yes. Who the fuck picks no? Nobody picks no. Yeah, that's an amazing feeling, and then you just pop off even more as that character and just go crazy. It's the best feeling ever. This game has space battles as well, okay? Again, that wasn't in Star Wars Battlefront 1, so that was a nice feature, and the space battles are super fun and addictive. You've got Galactic Conquest as well, which is one of my favorite Star Wars game modes ever, okay? It's so ridiculously addictive. It's kind of like a Star Wars board game where you basically take it in turns to like try and get control of the different planets. In order to get control of the planets, you basically have to go there, fight, and win, and once you win, you have control. The aim of the game is to have control of every single planet, okay, and it's just a ridiculously fun game mode, okay? It's so good. And this game has so many ridiculously iconic maps as well, okay, and it ranged from the original trilogy and the prequels, okay? So you've got maps like Coruscant and Kashyyyk, and then you've got Mos Eisley. Like, there's so many like maps here, and they're just so varied. And of course, this game has one of the best things of all time, like in the history of forever. This game has heroes versus villains.
I love you.
I played this game for years, okay, without knowing what heroes versus villains was, okay? I had no idea that it was even a thing until I discovered it one day with my friend. We were scrolling through maps, okay, and I just noticed it, heroes versus villains, and I was like, I've never seen that before, so of course we click it, we start playing it, and yeah, when I realized that it was literally all the different heroes taking on all the different villains, my mind was blown. I was like, oh my god, how did I not know this was in the game? And I used to play that game mode religiously, okay? I played heroes versus villains every day from that point onwards. So yeah, on the whole, boys and girls, Star Wars Battlefront 2, literally my favorite Star Wars game of all time, okay? I've got a ridiculous amount of nostalgia for it, and I still play it today. I still play this game now. I don't play the Classics Collection because of how much of a shit job they did with it, okay? I literally just go back and play the original, okay? Because it's so good, alright? And it's still addictive, and I can just load up a Galactic Conquest, play it, and still have fun even today. Okay then, boys, the next game we want to talk about is going to be Star Wars Lethal Alliance for the PSP.
Alone, you are strong. Together, you are invincible.
Okay then, guys, so I remember picking this game up a couple of years ago. I think it was maybe 2 to 3 years ago. I can't exactly remember, okay? And I remember playing through it, and I played through, like, the entire game, and I thought it was okay. I just remember that whole experience of the game just being somewhat forgettable. Like, I don't think it was a bad game at all. There was nothing about this game that screamed bad, but it was nothing about this game that was remarkable. There was nothing that blew me away. It was just an okay experience. I played through it for, like, 3 to 4 hours. I can't remember exactly how long it was, but it wasn't a particularly long game, and I just remember thinking, yeah, it was okay. You play as a mercenary called Rihanna, who's actually working with the Rebel Alliance, if you can believe that. I know that sounds weird, like you'd think mercenary and immediately think Empire, but no, she's with the Rebel Alliance, and she's actually on a mission for the Rebel Alliance where she has to like destroy an Imperial shipment. Sadly for her, though, she ends up getting caught, but coming to her rescue is a droid called Zeo, and this droid will basically accompany you for the rest of the game, so yeah, you better get used to him. The story here, boys, is fine, I guess. Like, it's alright, it's nothing too ridiculous, but it's not the worst thing ever. It's just fine. It's compelling enough, I guess, maybe. I don't know. It's just, I mean, it's just kind of like the whole game, you know? The whole game is just really mid. There's nothing bad about this game. It's well polished. It plays decently enough, but there's nothing about this game that is going to make you want to really play it. It's basically a third-person shooter with some melee combat in there, but it's as simple and vanilla as it gets.
Vanilla.
When you're shooting people in this game, it almost feels impactless. When you're hitting people in this game, it kind of feels impactless. It just doesn't have that nice feel to it. But at the same time, it doesn't feel terrible, you know? It's not broken, the controls are good enough, it's just fine. This whole experience of this game is fine. So yeah, that's kind of like my memories of this game, lads, okay? But you know what? It's been like 2 to 3 years since I played it, so I thought, you know what? Let me load it up onto the PSP, because I haven't played it in a while, and maybe I'm being a bit harsh on it. Maybe it's better than I remembered. So I put it onto the PSP, started playing it for a bit, you know, just played a couple, you know, for a couple levels just to remember it. But yeah, my memory serves me well, boys, okay? This game was exactly as I remembered it. The whole experience is somewhat forgettable. It's an okay experience, and I know I sound like a broken record here by saying the game is not terrible, it's fine, but that's just how this game feels. It's alright if you just want to shut your brain off, shoot some stormtroopers, that sort of thing. If you just want a really basic experience on the PSP, on the go, then I suppose this game can deliver that. And again, it has an okay story. The whole experience here is okay. But if you're looking for something a little bit more, you're not going to find it here, boys. This is one of the most forgettable games you can play, and it's just mediocre. If you're looking for a Star Wars experience to take on the go, like, if you've got a DS, play Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, okay? Because that, like I said, is amazing, okay? That's a lot better than mid. And if you don't have a DS and all you've got is a PSP, just buy Star Wars Battlefront 2 for the PSP. Like, that game is an amazing port on the PSP. There's just better options out there, in my opinion, but it's not the worst game either, lads. So if you really want to play it, then I guess you could pick worse games. Okay then, boys, next up I want to talk about Star Wars Super Bombad Racing for the PS2. So yeah, guys, if you couldn't tell by the cover of this game, okay, this is basically a Mario Kart clone in the form of Star Wars, okay? So, yeah, I wasn't really expecting this game to be on the level of something like Mario Kart, but I was actually somewhat blown away by how bad this game is. This is not a good game by any metric, okay? It's pretty terrible. There's honestly not a lot I like about this one, okay? It's pretty shit, alright? And I want to start off with the visuals of this game, okay? Because this game, it does not look pretty, alright? I wasn't expecting it to blow me away visually, but it's pretty bad. I mean, even on the back cover here, boys, I'll show you a little close-up. Look, will it focus? Okay, it's focusing. All right, look at how fucking bad Anakin looks on the screen there. This is meant to be showing off the graphics.
I am hideous?
You are horrifying to look at, yes.
But yeah, the graphics of this game are pretty terrible, but yeah, I can look past that, lads. I'm playing a PS2 game at the end of the day. I don't need the graphics to be amazing. Unfortunately though, lads, that's just like one of the many things about this game that is pretty bad. One of my biggest problems I have with this game, lads, is the hit detection, okay? Like, you'll be driving past a wall, and it will just say that you hit it, even when you didn't. The hit detection in this game is complete fucking bullshit, okay? And then meanwhile, if you want to get like a power-up, you have to be millimeter perfect, okay? If you just about scrape the power-ups, it won't give it to you. Yeah, if you scrape a wall, no, that's a hit detection. No, it doesn't make any sense to me. Speaking of power-ups, boys, they all suck, okay? All of the power-ups here are shit, okay? Except for the speed boost. That's literally the only good one. Like, if I'm playing Mario Kart, okay? Alright, there's tons of good power-ups, okay? You got the mushroom speed boost, you got the bananas, okay? There's some great power-ups. In this game, they are all bad again, except for the speed boost. Honestly, lads, my least favorite thing about this game is the track design, okay? Most of the tracks in this game completely suck. There's one track in this game where there's like an underwater section, okay? Which seems like a pretty cool idea at first, because you'll be like driving on land, and then you'll go underwater, and you think, oh, that's cool. Except for the fact that it's terrible. Like, I'd be driving underwater, and I think I'd know where I'm going, and then all of a sudden I like hit a wall because I'm like not going in the right place where I'm supposed to be going, and it was really fucking confusing. There's fish everywhere as well, so it's hard to freaking see. And honestly, like, most of the tracks in this game are just bad, okay? Like, there's so many shit tracks in this game. Like, most of them suck massive dick. There's one like power station track, okay, where you just constantly fall off of the freaking map. It's like a retarded rainbow road. Genuinely, the worst offense this game commits is just how bad some of these tracks are, okay? None of them are fun to drive on. Now, my final thing I dislike about this game, lads, is the roster here, okay? I mean, this is a Star Wars Mario Kart, alright? I'm expecting to be able to play as all sorts of different Star Wars characters. This game is set during the Phantom Menace, okay? So I get that we're not going to be able to play as, I don't know, Dengar, or, I don't know, Bib Fortuna. I don't know why I named some really obscure Star Wars characters, but I get it. You can't play as characters like that. But you don't even have Qui-Gon Jinn in this game, alright? This is a Phantom Menace game, and you can't play as Qui-Gon Jinn?
This is bullshit.
Like, if you look at the back here, boys, you can only play as, like, 8 different characters, and most of them are shit. Like, I don't want to play as Queen Amidala. I don't want to play as Boss Nass. I want to play as that weird Mos Eisley flying bug guy. I can't even remember what his name is. I want to play as him. I want to play as Qui-Gon. Why can't I play as these people? So, yeah, on the whole, lads, this game was pretty disappointing, okay? I didn't have high expectations for it, but I was still underwhelmed. The only thing I honestly think I like about it was the soundtrack. The soundtrack was kind of low-key good. Like, the main menu theme here, lads, slaps ridiculously hard for no apparent reason, okay? And most of the tracks in this game are just kind of good. Yeah, that's the only good thing about this game is the soundtrack. That aside, it's a pretty bad game, okay? It's not good. Okay then, boys, my final game I'm going to be talking about today is going to be Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order for the PS4.
Only in the Force.
See, I remember when I very first laid eyes on this game, okay, it was that trailer, and I remember watching that trailer, and I wasn't really, like, that amazed by it. I honestly didn't think it looked all that great. So I didn't think it looked bad by any means, but it just sort of underwhelmed me a little bit. I was kind of like, it looks alright, you know, maybe I'll get it someday, but I really wasn't blown away at all. But when I finally got around to playing it, lads, I was actually really surprised at how good it was, lads, okay? This game was so good when I first played it. So if I was to summarize what this game is, okay, in the most simple form I possibly could, it was basically like a Dark Souls Star Wars game, but with like Uncharted climbing, okay? That's kind of how I would describe it. I know it's a very simplistic way of looking at it, okay? And there's a lot of differences between this and Dark Souls, but it does borrow a lot from Dark Souls and, you know, other Soulsborne type games. This game borrows the same campfire system, okay? It's got a similar sort of combat system where you know, lock onto your enemy and then you hit them with your, you know, with your melee attacks, okay? It plays very similarly.
We're the same, you and me. Actually, no, we're not. Yeah, we are.
However, unlike other Dark Souls type games, it's not particularly difficult, okay? At least on base difficulty, okay? I'm sure if you bump this up to the hardest difficulty, it's quite hard. But on normal difficulty, this game is very playable, unlike Dark Souls and stuff like that. Like, obviously, those games are super difficult. Even the boss battles aren't, like, massively difficult in this game, okay? They're all pretty doable, okay? So, yeah, you don't have to be a, like, really skilled player to play through this game on normal difficulty, okay? It's a very playable game. Honestly, one of my favorite things about this game, lads, is just, like, killing stormtroopers, okay? Stormtroopers in this game are just pure cannon fodder, okay? They are literally there and existing for you to just abuse. It's not quite as far as the extent of, like, Force Unleashed, where you can just, like, mass murder, like, 500 million stormtroopers at once, so it's not quite on that level, but yeah, they just exist, and you just, like, think of all these different ways you can fuck them up using the Force, or with your lightsaber, okay? And then whatever way you choose is usually fun. But honestly, lads, I think the highlight for this game, for me at least, was the story here, okay? The story, in my opinion, is the best part about this game. I really love the story here. I won't go into it in full detail just in case some of you guys haven't played it before. I'm sure most of you guys have, but I'll just briefly talk about it, okay? So basically you play as Cal Kestis. He's a Jedi that survived Order 66, which is obviously a rare thing. Not too many Jedi survive that. And ever since Order 66, Cal Kestis has just been trying to survive, okay? Obviously the Empire are growing in numbers and they're looking for all the Jedis, and any Jedi survivors they find, they obviously want to execute. But he ends up meeting a couple of people, okay? He ends up meeting this ship pilot called Grease, and he ends up meeting another Jedi survivor called Seer. And you also end up meeting a droid called BD-1, okay, and he's a very lovable droid, okay, and he's going to be there for literally the entire game. But it's actually when he meets BD-1 that he ends up finding a secret message from Seer's, like, former master, and he talks about these Force-sensitive kids that have basically been put in hiding, and Cal basically sets off on an adventure so that he can find these Force-sensitive kids so that we can basically try and rebuild the Jedi Order. So yeah, I won't go into the story any more than that, boys and girls, but just know the story is definitely one of the highlights here, okay? I really enjoyed the story. I thought it was, like, just amazing. But yeah, honestly, lads, I think my favorite thing in this entire game, like, my favorite moment from this game has to be the first appearance of Darth Vader, okay? Darth Vader in this game, holy goosebumps, okay? Darth Vader in this game. They made Darth Vader an unstoppable force in this game. He is so ridiculously badass, okay? And I just get goosebumps even just thinking about his appearance, alright? I'm just gonna show you some of the shit that he gets up to.
doesn't look good.
It isn't. It's him.
Oh, shit. I'm fucked.
So yeah, on the whole, boys and girls, I really enjoyed this one, okay? It's just a really, really solid experience, okay? The gameplay's super fun, has a good upgrade system, the boss battles are good, not too difficult, but very enjoyable. Graphically, this game is good as well, I forgot to mention, okay? It's a very good looking game, and of course, the story is just amazing. So on the whole, boys, if you're looking for a really good Star Wars game, then this is definitely it. Okay then, lads, so that is 10 Star Wars games that we talked about, okay? I feel like I've been talking for ages, so I'm gonna try and shut up now. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna be doing a part 2, and probably also be doing a part 3 and possibly a part 4 as well, lads. If there's any Star Wars games that I didn't talk about today, let me know in the comments, alright? I'll add them all to my list of Star Wars games that I either need to buy or play, and yeah, we'll talk about them in a part 2 and a part 3. Don't know when that's gonna happen, but it will definitely happen. Other than that though, boys and girls, subscribe here if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one, alright? Peace.